Hey, Cody here from unqualifiedgamers.com, and today I'm going to review CivAddiction's Civilization 5 multiplayer mod pack. This episode will be a little bit different because my sidekick, Jonathan, who has been demoted to sidekick because he's never available to do the show, so he's a sidekick now, could not do the show. So I'm just going to do a straight up review of this amazing multiplayer mod pack. And at the end of this episode, I'll tag on a little bit of stuff to catch people up. But for those of you who are here just to hear about the mod pack, I'd like to launch right into that. So to give you some background, Civilization 5 is one of my favorite games. I'm quite obsessed with it. It's really, really fun. I got like 8 games on the Steam Summer Sale, and I played literally none of them, and instead played 30 hours of Civ 5 in the last week. So it's just this weird comfort game that I'm really into. And I also love mods, right? Mods are super fun. And I am not an expert on the Steam Workshop or Steam mods or getting mods to work. In Civilization 5, there's a robust mod system that lets you pull up and subscribe to mods essentially directly from in the game, which is really convenient and really easy and really great. And yet, in my infinite wisdom, somehow, I have never successfully gotten any of these mods to work. Even if I'm just adding like the mod that changes city-state names to the names of towns from Pokemon, which is an awesome mod I finally got to work, by the way. I couldn't get that to work forever. Like, mods and I just don't get along in this game. And then, lo and behold, so I don't remember how I even found this, but I'm looking around for like best Civ mods and some other stuff, and I stumble upon a couple different kind of packages that serve not necessarily as just a mod where it modifies a thing here or there, but as an overhaul of the game. And a couple were presented in different ways. There was one that I really wanted to try, but one of my other favorite ways to play Civ, in addition to by myself, is multiplayer. I love multiplayer, and I wanted to make sure it was compatible with multiplayer. So I'm browsing around all the mods that I could find online, and I came across, and I will share the screen with you for those watching on YouTube and not listening to the digitally remastered podcast at unqualifiedgamers.com. I will now share. This is the screen you can see. So it's at the Civ Fanatics forum, which also I really knew nothing about. Again, like I'm very new to this whole thing, so this is not coming from an expert. Even if you dabble in Civ 5, this video should make sense. But I'll get into the nitty gritty for those of you who want to know about this mod, because there's a lot to it. So it was posted by CivAddiction. I don't know who CivAddiction is or anything about CivAddiction, but thank you for making this a really cool mod. As you can see, the Civ Fanatics forum is quite a robust community. There are, looks like, a lot of people active in it and a lot of different sections. But there is a link to this thread in the video description, as well as on the official podcast on unqualifiedgamers.com. And here you can see there's an introduction, and CivAddiction goes into very, very specific detail regarding not only how to make a mod pack, but also the history of it a little bit. And I guess it was partially made to kind of demonstrate that several different mods can be incorporated into a mod pack that really fully changes the game. And of course, you've got the mandatory change log with lots of language I don't understand, like XML things. And I'm not a coder, I'm not a modder. Again, really great. And of course, most importantly, the download links. So, I mean, this thing is so robust, it literally could have its own website and be justified. But in this particular mod's case, there are just links within this thread on this forum. They're really great. So the full mod itself, in terms of game mods, is about 178 megabytes. And then the full version, including this cultural diversity soundtrack that is needed to get it to really run, that full version will run closer to about 1.77 gigs. And once you unpack it and unzip it, you figure around 2 gigs, just to kind of be safe. There are installation instructions on this page, and it talks about installation, which I'll get into in a bit. But I'm actually going to switch back to me for a second so you can look at my stupid face. I'm so sorry you have to deal with it. So that's where you find all this stuff. So I installed this mod pack, and it does completely overhaul the game. It re-adds in features from Civilization 4 that were removed from Civ 5. It changes the way resources are allocated. It changes a whole lot of stuff. And actually and by the way, the train is going to go by. I live near the train in Chicago, so there will be some noise in the background. That's what that is. It changes a lot of things. And actually, I'll share the screen again because I didn't really plan ahead too much in terms of this video, quite frankly. If I share the screen again, you can see, if you scroll down, coding stuff, mod pack creation, lots of other stuff, bugs he's removed. And then you get to the mods he included, all right? So city-state diplomacy, Civ 4 leader trade, Civ names, you scroll down and you scroll down and you scroll down. There's a lot. Then he talks about the mods he added from SERP's mod pack. And then he continues with more mods he adds from the SERP pack. And again, if you're watching the video, you can see there are, I've already scrolled past at least 30 or 40 mods, and probably coming up on 50 or 60. It's ridiculous, the number of mods. And then you finally get to the end, and then he throws in a few mods that were not included from SERP's mod pack. But the reason this is all very important is because I've only played a couple games with this mod pack. And what you need to realize, if you are a reasonable person, which I hope you are, what you need to realize is it's impossible to assimilate all of this information on your first playthrough. You can read 40 or 50 things and try to remember them, but they're all just written down like in a bullet point list. So the intent of this video is to give you some of the most glaring changes that I noticed, how it affected the game, how I felt about them, kind of what you should expect. And ultimately, I'll recommend that you try this mod pack because it gave me a new experience with the game that I really, really liked, like a lot. It was super fun to play. This mod pack is super well made. I'm very happy that I tried it. I would 100% recommend it to anybody that likes Civ 5 to try it. Now, I guess I'll actually finally talk about it. So I took some notes. So if I look away from the camera, it's because I'm actually looking at them. So the most marked change that I noticed in this is the ability to upgrade buildings. And that means that you build a building for the cost of the original building to give it a plus 50% output at the cost of plus whatever the maintenance is per turn. So for example, if you build a monument, that gives you 1 culture. In this mod pack, you can then build the monument a second time, essentially, to add to it. This doubles it. So now you have plus 2 culture, but it's plus 2 maintenance. It's 2 maintenance per turn instead of 1. Because again, that just rounds up, right? So that's kind of a huge deal. That changes the game significantly, because if you're aiming for culture or faith and you're building shrines, you can do this with a shrine, where you build a shrine twice and suddenly you have 2 faith at the cost of 2 gold per turn. But you're getting double the output for a particular thing. This applies to granaries for growth. Like you can figure out the rest. It allows you to specialize and focus much more on your output. And once you get to things like, not libraries, but whatever scientific building it is that increases your output by 33%, the upgrade of that increases by an additional 17%. So now you're getting 40% output science per city, or per building like this, because you've upgraded it, when you haven't necessarily unlocked like an observatory, let's say, that allows you to just build a new building. So it changes the structure of the game fundamentally in that way, and that's a really big deal. That is a super cool thing that I thought was really cool. There are a ton of extra improvements on the map, like some random building I found on a hill that gives you plus 2 faith. I don't remember what it's called. I'm going to refer back to the mod pack notes in a little bit, in a couple minutes in this video, to get a little more specific. But again, I'm just trying to list things that I jotted quick notes down on while playing the game to give you an idea of the things that jumped out the most to me. There are things that affect you perhaps even more than what I'm saying, but I'll get to those later because they're more subtle. So the diplomacy screen gives you bonuses that I guess were incorporated in Civ 4 that I didn't know about. So let's say next to a civilization, it'll have a science icon and a periscope icon. The science icon means that you build certain science buildings more quickly. It's just a built-in trait of that Civ, and there's some sort of science bonus I can't remember off the top of my head. The periscope, I believe, relates to movement. The production one increases the speed at which you build wonders quite substantially, and is very cool as well. And then there's a military one that affects your military. So each leader now suddenly has 2 icons that specialize additional things that they can do, whether it's getting additional science or additional culture or additional military or whatever it is, that fundamentally changes some of the bonuses you get at the start of the game. Really cool thing. There's a new resource called paper. And with that, you can build, with certain cultural buildings, you can build diplomats of some sort. I did not experiment with diplomats until late game, but diplomats are really cool. Diplomats, once you've produced them, you can bring them to a city-state and have them conduct a diplomatic mission, which raises your influence significantly. I think it's 30 or 50 or 70, depending on their rank. Or if you're already allies with that city-state, you can build an improvement on one of the tiles, expend the unit to build an improvement, and you build a embassy, which gives you an additional vote in the World Congress, which gets you more towards a diplomatic victory. So if you're going full diplomatic, I mean, I'm guessing if you play as Greece and just focus on building these diplomats and sending them to city-states, you're pretty much going to crush the game. It's going to be totally broken. But maybe not, because it's a harder game, which I'll also get to. What else? Military units now get any second level upgrade after the first and second upgrade. So you are not limited to plus 15% combat strength in open terrain or rough terrain or heal a unit as your only options. Combat units now, and maybe it's not the first promotion, but like when I built a barracks, it was always the first promotion. You could instead do, defense against ranged attacks, greater visibility, +1 movement speed if you're a naval unit. So it opens up the ways you can specialize your military, which is kind of cool. And there are some new ones that I've not seen before, like one that gives you +20% combat strength inside your territory. There's another one that's +20% combat strength outside your territory. So those are really good perks, obviously, because they're better than the 15% you're normally relegated to. So Conquest has changed quite a bit. Trading with civs and city-states is really easy now with pop-up screens and hover overs. You get more information on what the other civ is getting. And in the diplomacy screen, there's an info addict button that you can press, and that basically tells you the score and the progress of every civilization in the game in terms of faith or production or military strength or money or whatever it may be. So you can refer to that really quickly in case you're wondering, like, well, do I want to give them luxury resources, or are they really miserable and I need to maybe not so that they die, or things like that. So a lot of things changed a lot. Another one of the early things I noticed, and this is one of the few negative things I'll say about it, is that ranged units work fine. And this is in the notes. Like, I'm not calling out anything that CivAddiction's is not aware of already and has already documented clearly. But it's true that the red field around ranged units, generally if you attack with an archer or something, they'll show like a red kind of shape or bubble or whatever around the unit showing you where you can fire. Well, that's a bit bugged for some reason, and it'll only show 1 or 2 tiles that you can attack. You can still attack the normal tiles you'd be able to hit. It just doesn't indicate that on the screen visually. So a minor interface bug that's really not a big deal. Now, normally this might affect you. Let's say you're not really great at Civ. You realize that, well, archers are affected, like they can't shoot over hills. So you may be thinking to yourself, well, I don't like have the whole terrain modifiers memorized. I don't know what archers can see over or shoot over or whatever. So the fact that I can't see easily and clearly what I can attack is going to be detrimental to me. Do not worry, because that's also been changed to where basically any ranged unit that I can tell can just attack over anything. So you don't have to worry about that. Basically, if you know your range is 2, then you can attack any squares two squares away, which is fine. The one thing I found annoying is you can't move through jungle tiles unless you've discovered some technology. I don't remember which one, navigation or something. I can't remember off the top of my head, but that's like super annoying if you start near a jungle, or worse, if you're trying to attack a civilization that's near you and it's the beginning of the game and they're surrounded by jungle and you can't get through it. So keep that in mind. That does change the game substantially if you're anywhere near jungle. So that's another thing to think about. So those are the things that I picked up on right away when I started playing the game that kind of jumped out at me. They were the really glaring, obvious things. The things I noticed later in the game that I really liked were, so building diplomats, I think you can do it with production, but I only did it really with a couple special cultural buildings that you assign a specialist to. And it's like a great person. It's like you're generating a great merchant or a great engineer or a great scientist. And you create great diplomats, or diplomats essentially. I'm not an expert on the whole diplomacy thing, but I do know that what I've seen is cool. So worth checking out. And again, they can add a vote to the World Congress. I was just looking at my notes and I'm like, oh, that. Also with the military, what I noticed later, more than one military unit can occupy a city, which rules. I think it's 3 can occupy it now. And there are no more civilian traffic jams, I think. I saw in the notes there are no civilian traffic jams, but I was doing a lot of automated worker improvements, so I'm not super as familiar with that. But if it's true, then no civilian traffic jams, definite plus. There's an entire new unit of civilization called health. So in addition to, science and happiness and culture being generated and golden age points, there's now health. And there are several buildings that affect that, hospitals affect that. And your civs basically did a health base. And then if you have health under that base, then you have that % chance that a plague could ravage one of your cities, which kills off population, presumably affects your production and other things adversely and is not really great. But I don't know, because I turned off the plague option. I didn't want to deal with it. I dabbled with the plague option on in multiplayer with my friend, and a couple of our CPU rivals were ravaged by plagues, which is great, but my city was not hit by them. I chose to not deal with that new health option, but maybe you want to. I don't really know. Let's see. So I already talked about the jungle thing, and yeah, those were my major impressions. As I got late into the game, there were a couple other minor bugs that are, again, probably documented, but just maybe something to be aware of. When you're at war, the city-state zoom-in interface doesn't always work perfectly. Like if I'm hovering over Antwerp on the map and I click on it, it won't zoom in to that city-state for some reason while at war. One time a city didn't render correctly. So it said, Seville or whatever. It had the icon for Seville and the population, and it had a unit stationed there, but it didn't like render the actual houses for the city. Minor UI thing. Then there was another, and actually it would render if I zoomed into a certain degree, but then disappeared when I zoomed out. It was strange. And there was like a mountain that didn't look like a mountain. So occasional bugs, but like really minor stuff that does not break the game really at all and shouldn't be really a worry. And I think it's worth noting all of this because, again, I'm not trying to bash this mod. It's a really awesome mod. It's really well made and well done. Like, I'm impressed by it. I have nothing bad to say about it. The reason I'm forthcoming about, any bugs is because this is a game that you can dump 30 to 50 to 80 hours into one game. And you probably are thinking to yourself, well, I don't want to get 25 hours into the game and then have something break. So don't worry about that. I finished a game that was about 24 hours long which I lost. So I went back a few turns to rewrite history, as it were, and went a different strategy, which lasted much longer. But I got 30 hours out of the game, no bugs whatsoever. That it prevented me from finishing the game. Now, playing multiplayer with my friend, a couple times we would, finish a turn, and then instead of the computers taking their turn, the game would just, reload itself. That's something that happens during normal Civ 5. That's not exclusive to mods. So, we just would exit the game. He'd reload it, re-invite me, and then we'd reconnect, and then it would stop and go away. Other times it would do it maybe 2 or 3 turns in a row and then stop doing it. So, a couple reconnecting things, but to be totally honest, I've had just as bad problems with the single or with the unmodded multiplayer game. So this is not like some new territory where it's like, oh, the mod breaks the game. No, it's playable multiplayer. And it's, nothing's gonna be totally broken any more than it would normally be or anything. So all in all, multiplayer works is what I'm trying to say. So there's that. So overall, those are the main things that I noticed about the mod pack. Really cool changes. I'm just gonna I just pulled up CivAddiction's actual list, and I'll read through a couple of them. You can obviously read them themselves, but the purpose of this review is to kind of get my reaction as a player. Also, keep in mind, I'm not good at Civilization 5 or Civilization in general. Like, I'm pretty good. I can probably play on King or above, maybe 1 level or so, maybe a couple levels if it's multiplayer and I'm on a team with my friends. But I'm not like Emperor level. I'm not like 6 or 7 level or whatever the highest 2 are. That's not me. So you're not talking to a pro on this game, but I like it and it's fun and I enjoy playing it. Before I get into this, the other thing I will say is that the game is harder. My friend and I were playing multiplayer, and whatever, like, we went up a few levels in difficulty. Like, we usually in multiplayer will play on either the 2nd or 3rd highest difficulty. And we did that with this on the multiplayer, and we got crushed. So, I mean, not like we lost, but we were so far behind after about 30 or 40 turns that we just started a new game. That never happens to us. And the second game, we weren't doing a whole lot better. Now, one of 2 things could be possible. One is that my friend was brand new to the mod and didn't know about all these changes. So being on teams just made that more apparent, plus the fact that I'm not as good at the game because he usually kind of carries the team. Other possibility is what we're thinking is all the civs get starting bonuses. So I'm not going to be able to find it like in this documentation right now while I'm podcasting, because first of all, it's rude to read while I'm talking. But, well, okay, I'll find a couple. So like leader trades, right? So there's like aggressive, which reduces your military upkeep costs. Inventive gives you +2 science per city. Holy crap, that's ridiculous. At the start of the game, think about that. There's spiritual, +1 faith per city. Protective, +50% city range attack strength. Seafaring, free workboats when a lighthouse is built, free cargo ship when a harbor is built. Stuff like that. And then all the civs get, like, if you're industrious, you get a double production rate when producing workshops and stoneworks. Mercantile, get double production on markets and mints. Just all these little things that like really significantly affect the game, and they're major bonuses. And there are other base bonuses that each civilization gets I'm not even aware of that are somewhere in the notes. But what my friend's theory is that because the bonuses start so early in the game, the computer knows about them, registers them, and is able to leverage those, and that gives them a faster start. So in order for you to like really effectively play this game competitively with the CPU, you need to know what your bonuses are. Like, we found out halfway into playing the second game that if you build a city on a forest, it contributes some of the production. It contributes production to your first building because you've chopped down trees. So it makes sense that you'd get production. So we're like, oh, okay. So that's why all the CPUs building all their cities were built on forests. But like, we didn't know that. So It could be one of a couple things, or maybe the CPU is just smarter and they just made them harder, because there is a CPU military overhaul in this mod pack as well. But we did both notice a bit of a spike in difficulty. So if you're a Civ 5 player who's really good at the game and you've mastered everything, and like you're just playing on the hardest difficulty all the time, and it's kind of challenging for you, but like you've got it down pat, I would get this mod and just switch things up a bit, because that could be really, really fun. So that's all of my overall impressions that I'll talk about. And I'll touch on just a couple of the other major mod notes that that I noticed. There's a city-state diplomacy mod that kind of changes the way you interact with city-states. It didn't affect me much. I didn't think it changed the game a huge amount, but it's kind of nice. And the great diplomats are really, really cool. They alter the diplomatic features. They alter the leader traits I mentioned. Civ names by policies, does something with names. There's one called community patch. I'll give you an idea of like how complicated this is. My changes, merged LUA with other mods and made some LUA and XML changes to make it compatible with C4DF. I don't know what any of those things mean. I'm sure they're really awesome, but I don't know what they mean. So there's that. The great wonders of the world have been overhauled, so they all produce 8 in resources, whatever that combination is, whether gold, faith, culture, science, production, whatever it is, they all add up to 8. So natural wonders make a whole lot more. Cities not built on hills get +1 food to compensate for the +1 production that cities on hills have. So it's rebalancing the game. Because part of the idea of this mod pack, I think, is to make the game more fair and more balanced and make some improvements. Great profit names now have historical names like the way great people do. That's kind of cool. The health and plague yield I talked about, improved air recon, which I don't know much about because I didn't build any air units. I just built nukes. Those worked out pretty well for me. The soundtrack is pretty good. Exploration is good. There's more pantheons. The pantheons are a little ridiculous because there used to be like 5 or 6 really good pantheons and the rest were whatever. They're all really good now. So it takes me like 5 minutes to pick a pantheon every time I've played this game now, because I'm like, they're all really, really good. What do I do? And that's really, really cool. My friend's favorite edition, one of his favorite editions, is that if you have a unit and you right click somewhere across the map and it's like he'll be there in 6 turns. If you click on that unit again, the tile he's headed towards will glow and make a sound effect and highlight, so you can see where he's headed. You can see where that destination is. I feel like that was in another Civ game at some point, or maybe in Civ 5, but it's just better and it's more consistent now. So that's really cool. One of my favorite new things is a music changer. At the very top of the screen, in the tiniest font, very unobtrusive, there's a thing that says music player, and it just says like next track or something. You can click on that anytime to skip the track. Oh my God. I was playing as Morocco. You think I pressed that skip button at all? Because I did, like a lot. So that's awesome, because there's a couple tracks in each Civ that you just hate, and you want to die every time you hear them. Now you can click next track. Why is that not in the original game? I don't really know. Anyway, lots of new unit models. I think this is a logical change. Submarines now ignore borders. That makes sense because they're submarines. They're underwater. The whole idea is that you can't see them. So that's cool. Trading posts now grow into towns like cottages in Civ 4, which I don't know a whole lot about. Cultural influence has been overhauled. Wonders. Here's another awesome feature. Wonder building is one of the most stressful and frustrating parts of Civilization. If I spend 19 of the first 30 turns building the pyramids, and then when I'm 1 turn away from building the pyramids, I get a notification that says, Korea just finished the pyramids, then I just wasted basically the entire opening of the game. This is atrocious and reprehensible. Now, when you start constructing a wonder, after your first turn, you get a notification that says you're beating someone to making that wonder, or you're falling, or someone else is beating you to building that wonder, which means you can change almost right away and decide whether you want to build that wonder. Maybe one turn was wasted, or maybe one turn told you, oh, I'm actually ahead. Maybe I'll step up production just to make sure I stay ahead. And there you go. That is the best thing ever, basically. Actually, there's other best things ever. Convenient start. The starting settlers have additional movement points. So you can get a 6-tile movement radius. They have greater range of sight. You can just see further. There's all that stuff. And honestly, at this point, I could just go on and read the rest of the 50 or so mods that have been added to it, but I'm not going to, because you can read it in the description, and because I've been talking about it for a half hour. So the name of this deal is CivAddiction's multiplayer mod pack. It's super easy to install. You literally drag a folder into into one of your folders in the Steam folders, in the hard drives, you literally drag it into the see how good I am at explaining things. Oh yeah, you once you unzip it, you bring it into Steam Apps, Comments, Admire Civilization 5, Assets, DLC. You basically drop a folder in the DLC folder in your hard drive, and it's good to go. And it overhauls the whole game, so it's not like you select it as a mod in the game. What I think happens, and again, I'm not an expert, is the game reads this mod pack as a DLC, so like Brave New World or Gods and Kings. It just reads the whole package as a DLC and just automatically boots it up when you boot up the game. The first time I booted up the game, it did take like an extra minute or so. So just be patient and don't assume it's frozen. Just give it a little bit to kick up. And then once you're in the game, I did not notice any lag. My computer is not a killer rig by any means. I didn't notice any massive lag in turn taking or anything like that. I thought it was very smooth once loaded, and it was it was just an exceptional experience. Clearly I've raved about it enough. I could go on. I will not. I will also not play as Morocco again, though they were good, but not my style, I don't think. So there's that. But it was super fun. It was super, super fun. Highly recommended. And go ahead and check it out. And thank you, CivAddiction, for making a very cool mod pack. So with that, really hope that I haven't scared off everyone. If you just came for the Civ 5 mod pack review, that's all I have to say. If you came for anything else, I don't know where you came from, because why would you? But no. This is Unqualified Gamers. This is episode 100, whatever it says in the video description, or wherever you're watching or listening to this. I'm usually joined by my co-host John, who is always sick because of his baby or being told to do something by work or his wife or something. Basically, he is out of control. He has no self-control of his life, and that is why I'm demoting him to sidekick, because I carry the team, and that happened. But maybe he'll be back. Who knows? Probably next week, just in time to take another week off, presumably, before Gen Con, where we will be doing a live podcast the Friday of Gen Con in Indianapolis at the end of July. So we're very excited about that. And keep an eye on our YouTube channel and unqualifiedgamers.com for a promo video that I'll be releasing later, promoting a little appearance at Gen Con and a live podcast, which you can come and watch and listen to and all this good stuff. Also, Unqualified Gamers, the podcast, is part of the Gonna Geek Network, and some other shows on the network have some cool things going on. So I'd like to tell you about what their episodes are doing this week. So on episode 166 of All Things Good and Nerdy, ATGN, which you can find at gonnageek.com. Naki couldn't be here this week, but have no fears. Anthony and Chris are still here to bring you the latest news you have to know. Have to is quite aggressive, but okay. Anyway, Chris recounts James Gunn's thoughts on the upcoming Ant-Man movie. Basically, it's looking as though it should be pretty good. And Anthony is able to reveal his secret project. Ooh, he's doing the artwork for well, I'm not going to tell you what the secret project is, but he's doing something cool, so go check it out. And then they do a rundown of some other interesting news from last week. All Things Good and Nerdy, very cool nerdy podcast that I've co-hosted many times, and we're good friends of theirs on the Gonna Geek Network. And then on the Voices of Defiance podcast, this episode 36 this week, where they cover season 3, episode 5, History Rhymes. Shannon, Sean, and Stargate Pioneer power through the 4th of July vacation to not only watch, but also podcast on Defiance's latest episode, History Rhymes. The plot thickens in all aspects as the TARS continue complicating their lives beyond humanly possible, and Doc Yule rolls in to save the day. Or did she? Also, Sean gets another taste of his beloved Kinsey. Enjoy this holiday version of Voices of Defiance, and we'll be back with a normal podcast next week. More normal. I was going to say more normal. It doesn't get too normal up in her. Anyway, that was a lot of Civ 5 talk and podcast talk, and I'm sure I had something else to say or discuss or say or discuss. But oh yeah, there's one more thing. So I don't know if you've noticed on our YouTube channel, but I basically am podcasting from a different location every week, and it's well documented on this podcast that both John and I are dealing with a lot of technical issues basically all the time. I'm shocked and overjoyed that both my webcam, well, my mic always works, but I'm overjoyed that my webcam worked this entire episode and the last few. That's really great. But the computers that are connected to the camera don't always work. Well, that has been resolved. I have ordered a new gaming PC. I finally did it. I have finally done it. I have been talking about this, I don't even know how long. Like, if you're a longtime listener, I would love if you commented or sent us an email letting me know how long I've been talking about getting a new gaming PC, because it's been a really long time. So I'm going to get that new gaming PC, hook it up to my TV, have a new rig. It's going to be awesome. And Bob's your uncle. We're all set. I will then take this current computer I'm recording on, my soon-to-be old gaming PC, put that at my desk where computers actually belong, not on the television, but at a desk. Novel idea. And I will be using this actual working, functioning computer for podcasting. So the light is at the end of the tunnel for production things. And once I have an actual setup at a desk, I'm actually going to be able to edit more things more easily, because I don't know if you've ever edited a podcast on a 55-inch television. It's annoying. Like, I don't know. It's like the buttons are tiny and everything's sensitive when you're moving the mouse, and it's far, and you have to like take up the whole living room. Like, I can't, like, I don't have wireless headphones. I could just like connect or whatever. And then like, if my girlfriend's walking around, like, she's got to hear me say the same thing over and over as I'm rewinding. And it's just, everything about it is terrible. So basically everything will be better sometime after 2 weeks from now when my gaming PC comes. So I'm not big into specs. I spent several hours researching what to get and blah, blah, blah. All I know is I have a Intel i7, which is fast, I guess, and a something GTX 980. It's a 980. I know the number is 980. I think that's NVIDIA. Like I said, I'm really bad at this stuff, but I read lots of comparisons and things and looked at my options, and I had CyberPower build it. I got a CyberPower PC in college, and it lasted me a long time, like a really long time, like 11 years or something. And I think the one I just got is even better than that. And I'm better at like computers now if I need to repair it and stuff. So it was an investment, but it's going to last me forever. But I'm really excited about that. Also partially because lately John, my constantly absent co-host, has been playing Final Fantasy 14. He's definitely going to talk about that on our next episode, if he ever comes back. But he and our other friend Brad plays it, and it got me interested. I love Final Fantasy. He was like, the soundtrack's great. You should listen to it. So I'm at work and I'm listening to the soundtrack. And I'm like, damn, it is a good soundtrack. So between the soundtrack, the fact that it's a Final Fantasy game, and like the fact that I have a couple friends playing, I think I'm going to get it. And I might get it on PC to like kind of break in my gaming rig, and that'll be my new thing. So I'll delve into the world of Final Fantasy 14 soon, and presumably play some of the Steam games that I have been purchasing and not playing. But you know, that's how Steam works now, isn't it? So anyway, that's all the big news I've got. And one other quick thing, I've got the Q&A feature activated on our YouTube channel. I record these live so they go straight toward a YouTube channel. And our amazing listener, Christopher Long, who we love very much and has written for unqualifiedgamers.com, said, hold on, you guys do live shows? Well, I don't know if you're talking about the broadcast now or Gen Con, probably Gen Con. Yeah, I always broadcast on Google Hangouts. Anyone that follows us on Google Plus knows that. No, Gen Con will be our only live show ever. I don't know how actually technically I'm going to do any of that yet. Because I'm working with basically 3 broken laptops. I don't know logistically how any of this is going to work. I'm guessing I'll just record the audio on a laptop at Gen Con and videotape it, and then we'll upload it later. I don't even know. So really, you're going to want to be there. If you're going to Gen Con, you're going to want to be there at the live podcast recording to see what the hell we end up doing. And by we, I mean me, because I'm the only person that will have any technology or software equipped to really do anything with anything. So there's that. But I am very much looking forward to all that. So yeah, keep an eye on unqualifiedgamers.com. I may write down some of my notes on Civ 5 since, apparently 40 minutes is not long enough to ramble about it, and you may want to know more. And that's literally all I have to say at present. And happy belated 4th of July, Independence Day, holiday. Happy birthday, America. God bless the revolutionaries and Edward Snowden, who is keeping this country as great as our forefathers, or at least one of our fathers.